This one's for the culture. Me and wifey in the room thinking of a master plan, thinking how we can influence the culture from where we stand. Knowing that our steps are ordered by the master's hand, still 10 toes down, we ain't switching up the stance. The mission of this music ain't just to make them dance, trying to tell them about the rock, cause they build.
And welcome each and every one of you to this, I guess we'll call it a special edition, emergency edition episode of the Bond Chronicles. As you can see, it is just me here today. My co-host is on travel, and when she returns, we'll get, kind of figure out where everything is. Just a lot of stuff been going on, so apologize for some of the delays, some of the things that have popped up, just reacclimating to the schedule. So we do want to be here for you as much as possible, but sometimes, unfortunately, life is happening. So please bear with us and give us your grace. With that out the way, I will ask for you to also give me your grace as I play this scenario out. I know what's been going on, and I've been relatively active on social media. For those of you who follow me, the information is there at the bottom. But verbally, as far as our podcast, we haven't talked a lot. And given the subject matter and the volume and frequency of recent Ye West posts, it was really hard to gather and get an understanding of when you wanted to jump in and when you wanted to give feedback. And really the issue here with the rampant Ye West posts is that they're addressing everybody. And you don't have to like them. You can dislike them. You can like them. You can support them. You can be a fan of his, as I have and continue to be. And I think will forever be maybe a fan of his. But the hard part with creative people, the hard part with people that think outside the box, the hard part about people that can't be controlled is they're different. And there's not a lot of blueprint to go off of. And a lot of times, especially with creativity and art and entertainment, it's feeling, it's emotion, it's passion. It's not necessarily based on logic and principle. It's not necessarily well thought out. And that's where I think we find ourselves. So I'll start from a quick recap at the beginning. Most of you that follow us probably have had an idea of what's been going on. But this year's Fashion Week, Kanye West had a hard time finding a place to have a show. He's been at war with Adidas and Gap and others. And because of that, it made his ability to secure a location more difficult. Through his networking and things, he was able to find a location. And upon that, he had his show. He walked in the Balenciaga show as well and was one of the first artists to ever do that. That was a big deal. Great news, great press, military security outfit, super dope. So then we get to the Yeezy Season 9 fashion show. Naturally, I'm a fan, so I'm tuned in. I'm ready to go. What do we got? We got some new shoes coming because I didn't heard all this stuff going on with Gap giving them feet pushback on shoes. We've seen that Yeezy has put his the account and the partnership under review, and that's just a stall tactic. Like he makes them too much money for them to break the contract over this because, as I'll get to, I think there's a little bit of fake outrage in all of this, but we'll get there. So at the fashion show, as I was watching it and I had it streaming, I immediately noticed that it was late. Go figure, Kanye West, late. No surprise there. I'm used to it. I've been through it for mad listening shows, mad other situations. So cool. Got it. He comes out, makes a statement, pretty generic Kanye stuff, Rage Against the Machine. People didn't support me, but this is my issue with the media, blah, 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 blah. Cool, we're there. It's important, but for the context, not as much. Then the shirt. So initially, when he walked out, I saw the front of the shirt. And I was like, who the heck is that? At first, I thought it was Joe Biden. It was not Joe Biden. It was the Pope. And on the back of the shirt, it said, White Lives Matter. And I'll be honest, when I first saw it, it punched me in the gut. Like, I didn't like that at all. Like, I'm not with that. I get what it represents. I get all the bad publicity about Black Lives Matter, the organization. But I was and still am a firm believer that Black lives do matter and its importance in society. However, it doesn't really matter if Black Lives Matter to Black people, given what the moniker was about. The phrase came out of police brutality. The phrase came out of oppression. We can have another conversation a little bit later and maybe a bigger conversation down the road about Black's roles in Black Lives Matter and how valuable we value one another, which I don't think we value one another much at all, which is why no one else does. Conversation for later. Let me stay on topic because I don't want to ramble. So the White Lives Matter shirt, naturally, rampant criticism. Rampant criticism. And understandably so, given the climate we live in. Naturally, he's a polarizing figure. Everywhere he goes, there's always a camera. Many times when he speaks, there's a microphone, someone's listening, it's getting posted somewhere, it's a big deal. That's who he is. With that comes leeches or people that want to gain clout off of you. And one thing about Kanye is he is very, very good at giving you things to attach to advance your career. Berating him and calling him out when he says some of those unpopular things or things that shock the senses, that's normal. That's what people do. It's what people do, and they've done it time and time again, and it benefits them. And he finds a way to overcome it. Usually by making music or making shoes or whatever. His creative genius supersedes some of the things we've heard him say and do that we thought were ridiculous. By we, I mean them, not me. And so this situation was different because it was close to home for me. The Harriet Tubman statement, we can discuss it. I didn't see the rage in it. The abortion while it was on the campaign trail, I thought that was passion. I understood. I can see how it's embarrassing, but I don't really go to embarrassment when I start thinking about that family. Like, it's hard for me to start being concerned about embarrassing you as a family when you literally sold your daughter sex tape and made her shoot it multiple times. So no, I'm not exactly concerned about the bad image I may be giving you and your family. Y'all do perfectly fine of that, Kris Jenner and the Kardashians. So naturally, people came out in support of a journalist that was there. And what I'm not going to do is dump on a Black woman. Simply on the face of she's a Black woman. She was invited, I believe, to the event. So there was some kind of respect given to her. She's respected in industry. Cool. She left the fashion show, and this has been where I kind of get lost with y'all. There was an entire fashion show. I thought it was super dope. He flew out a ton of kids to sing, to have their moment on that kind of stage, a moment they will probably never forget. He took care of that. He got them all there. The designs, not for me. But Fashion Week is not for me because I'm a hoodie and t-shirt guy. Y'all see me on here. This is pretty much how I dress every day. And I like that. And I'm going to keep doing that as long as I can afford to do so, unless money comes calling. But there was so much else that went on. And all of that has gotten lost because of this shirt. And so Gabby, I believe is her name, she came out and she had this eloquent speech on how it impacted her. She's entitled to that opinion. 100%. Where I also get lost is if I'm an artist and I put my art on display, you have every right to critique it. Like, that's the game. Like, I create, you critique or celebrate or whatever. I'm good with that. But if you critique my work and I then respond about your fashion when you were talking about my fashion, that's not bullying. I'm responding to you. You are a fashion person. You're saying this made you feel away. You didn't speak about the actual fashion. You didn't speak about the fashion show in any other regard that I've seen. You simply focused on one aspect of it. Cool. Stay there. You want to focus on one thing? I'm going to focus on one thing. Your boots. So Kanye goes on, finds pictures of this woman, talks about her boots, talks about how she's not fashionable, blah, 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 blah. I didn't really see it as such a big deal, but of course the internet takes it and they blow it up and he's fat shaming and bullying and blah, 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 blah. Keep in mind, he had an avalanche of criticism for this shirt. And none of that's considered bullying. That criticism is perfectly fine because it's a person we don't really like that much. But that person, when you receive that avalanche of criticism, is not okay with them responding. I'm not with that. If you can give it, you got to be able to take it. And that goes both ways. Gay included. If you're going to bash people and talk about people, they're going to respond. And if they start giving receipts or sharing stories that are unfavorable to you, that's what happens when you push people in the corner. So the fallout from that was they eventually met. Gabby and Kanye met. Apparently the conversation was recorded. No one has seen it up to this point that I've seen reported, but that happened. After that, there were subtle shots aimed at really one another, but nothing real substantial. However, Gigi Hadid and Hailey Bieber were vocal, as were others. And I'll get to that in a minute. So naturally, Kanye has declared war on, I don't know who exactly. I think it's anyone that doesn't align with his ideology. I'm not going to say I'm at war with people that don't agree with Kanye, but I understand the premise. From what I understand, he believes that either you support me or you don't. You got to choose. But if you don't, you got to take all that comes with it. If you do, you get all that comes with it. Ye believes that his child situation, his family situation, where he seems to believe, for whatever reason, I wasn't there, I can't speak on it, he was not allowed to see his children. He felt Hollywood should have supported him. I think that's tough. I think that's a really tough correlation. That's a family matter. I don't get involved in family typically. Not to the extent it seems like he would have wanted people to get behind him if he wanted them to match the ferocity of the t-shirt. That's a false equivalency. That ain't gonna happen. But what I will say, and I really am working my way there, so I appreciate your patience, is that things build and things take time. And for him in that situation, no, you don't necessarily need to support him and his children, or the fact that he couldn't see his children. But I also think it's pretty hypocritical that you will overtly bash the negative. And that's news and media. And that is, I believe, the core principle of this recent Kanye West saga. People pick and choose what they want to be outraged about based on its impact to them. Black people were outraged by the White Lives Matter shirt, but a bunch of other groups weren't. I didn't see an Asian community uprising. I didn't see a Jewish community uprising. I seen celebrities. I seen, and I'm generalizing here, but typically Democratic left-leaning people very upset. I understand why they're upset because I was upset when I first saw it. And I didn't understand why you would do that. And I still to this day don't think he needed to do that. He's too creative. He could have found another way to dominate Fashion Week, which we've learned was his goal. Because of the Virgil situation with Louis Vuitton, because of all of the situations he's had in the industry, this was a thumb his nose at the industry, the fashion industry. You guys are going to spend all your money, time, and resources having all these amazing shows. But at the end of the show, you know what they're going to talk about? My shirt. It's genius. I get that you guys hate the shirt, but that's genius. He created a simple shirt with no ads, no commercials, no promo, no anything. He just dropped the shirt and it shut down Fashion Week. That's incredible. when the biggest fashion houses in the world, one of the richest men, top 5, maybe richest men in the world, Bernard Arnault, has multiple houses having fashion shows, and nobody knows who walked in any of his shows or what was displayed? Why? 1, Virgil's gone. 2, Ye's here. And Ye thought, shirt. And that's it. There has to be a level of credit given for that foresight. Now, you don't have to like the method. I told you, I don't like the method. I think there could have been a different method. But there's a level of respect that needs to be given to people that can think and create and execute at that level. And I think that's missing. I think the tough part, and I shared this on my other pod, is that if you only show up to speak negatively on Black men, I don't have a lot of use for you. And I feel like too often people pop up to speak on Kanye when it's something negative. And then it's, I'm done with him. I'm over him. He's canceled, sunken plays, mental health, blah, 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 blah. But then when he does something else, we're back complaining again. By we, I mean them. And it's like y'all keep complaining about him following a very simple pattern, a very consistent pattern. If y'all over it, be over it. Nobody's telling you to watch. No one's telling you to read the comments. No one's telling you to watch the videos. No one's telling you to engage. Cut it off. It's actually toxic. It's a toxic relationship that y'all have with him that y'all keep watching, knowing he's going to probably say stuff that you're not going to like, but you keep coming back. But you'll blame him for putting out the stuff that you keep watching and keep coming back and listening to. But who's really the problem? He's him. By all accounts, he's comfortable being him. So let him be him. If you think his impact is too great, figure out a way to have more impact to counteract it. Don't be mad because his platform is big and yours is small. Mine is small. Figure out a way to maximize it. As a podcaster I know talks in a similar, celebrate, figure it out. If you don't like the message he's putting out, put out a better one. If you can't reach the same audience he can't, that's too bad. Work harder. Don't criticize him for using his platform to advance his message. That's what the platform is for, whether you agree with it or not. But we're so caught up in trends and algorithms and what's popular and what's not, and how are people going to think about what I say and do and who I like. And it's like, he's saying, be yourself. If you hate me, move out the way. But if you support me, support it. And it just looks away when people are privately supporting you. Tory Lanez just talked about this in his recent album. Go listen to it if you haven't. I enjoyed it. It's toxic. It's super toxic, but it's entertaining. But there's so much in that industry where it's so much fakeness. And we've heard it from a bunch of people. I'm not even mad for real that y'all coming at me because y'all fake anyway. As far as Justin, y'all know I've been a big Bieber fan for a long time. I'm still waiting. It's going on 3 years for this concert to finally get rescheduled. I'm really over it. I would like my money back at this point, but Ticketmaster hasn't made that decision. But it is unfortunate to me because the Hailey Bieber piece is unique. Kanye and Justin have been really tight for a really long time. And for me, and this is a conversation I've had with my wife as well, and she's really on the Hailey Bieber side because she don't care what I be saying. But what she says reflects on you. And we talked about it on here a while ago that your girl can get you in a position where now you got to fight. And you ain't got no smoke. You ain't got no problem with said individual. But your girl, it was the Will Smith and Jada situation, has now put you in a position where now you got to make a decision. You got to be a man. And many times the man is going to defend his girl, especially publicly. And I really hope Justin and Ye's relationship doesn't break down because I think they're both very valuable for one another. But when your girls start talking, and even if it is supportive, because I didn't really think her comment was that bad at all. But in war, when you support the enemy, and at that time she was the enemy, you become the enemy. I've tried to have this conversation with people, and different people are different. But when I went through my divorce, I didn't tell many people to pick sides, but naturally people pick sides. And the people that are here today are people that either chose my side or came later. Anybody that I felt was unsafe, anybody that I felt was going to stab me in the back, many of who have, you're out of here. If you're even friendly with that side, I can't trust you. Because I can't trust that the conversation I'm having with you is staying with you. And so he's doing it on a much bigger level. He went at Puff. He's gone at a couple other people, Tremendez. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because Tremaine's not nearly as important as some of the other stuff, but he's taking all comers. And I respect that. Now, be consistent, but I do respect it and understand it. I just think, I don't think. I wish more people would take time to listen. And that brings me to the first part of the Tucker Carlson interview. I get Tucker Carlson is not our demo, probably. He ain't my demo. I don't know much about the guy, and that's not true. I do. I know a good amount about him. Do I necessarily watch him all the time? No, I don't. Not for me, based on what I've seen, but there's been some things he's posted I did agree with. And I think that's important. Because many times we think because we don't agree with someone on a couple things, that means nothing they ever say is valuable. And that is a dangerous, dangerous place to be. But that is where the media is trying to put us. That if I'm a Republican, the only thing I listen to is Republican stuff. And if I'm a Democrat or liberal, the only thing I listen to is stuff that appeases that. And that's what social media is. That's the algorithm. And you know what happens when you upset the algorithm? Ask Ye. They kick you off. This is new to me. So to our audience, please comment your thoughts as far as the anti-Semitic part, because that was most recent. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think saying Jesus is a Jew was anti-Semitic. I thought that would be a badge of honor, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was historically accurate. So I don't understand the banning on Instagram based on that. By all reports, that's why he was kicked off Instagram. To go to Twitter and say he's going to go DEFCON 3, yes, bad. Don't do that. I'm not going to say that. I don't think you need to do that. However, if you, in reality, not on social media, but like in the real world, what do we really think the billionaire with no real history of violence to a large group of people is going to do? Like, I had this conversation with my daughter earlier. Like, I know you asked the question, or I know you feel away, but take time to actually think through what that looks like. And I said this last election when Twitter kicked Trump off. I said we're going down a very, very slippery slope. That these social media platforms are now going to start dictating news, start suppressing freedom of speech under the guise of protection. It's a joke. It is a joke. It's just really frustrating that people are this naive and this dunce and this dull that when somebody says something they don't like, they just block everything else that comes from them. And I've never really understood that. I've always been taught you can learn from anyone. A homeless person, a baby, a child, God, a genius, a teacher, anyone. You should be able to learn from everyone. And I know this is what I'm about to say is about to sound crazy. But I think the point in what Kanye is trying to do is to expose the aspects of every sect. He's targeted whites. He's targeted blacks. Apparently he's targeted Jews. He's targeted fat people, according to the Lizzo statement. He's targeted black women. He's targeted a bunch of people. Very similar to a good friend of his. I've surmised to say there might be a blueprint there. And I might be giving away the secret here, but so be it. What happens when you make those kind of statements that Ye has been making in this society that we live in, and this is going to get me to Michael Rappaport in just a minute. You guys think that the crowd dictates. The problem with that thinking, we saw it last election, is when you only focus on one and completely eliminate and discriminate against another. There are people in that group that was talked to that agree. There was a lot of black people that did agree with Trump. There's still currently a lot of black people that agree with Kanye. There are women that agree with Kanye. There's people in Hollywood that agree with Kanye. There are Jews that agree with Kanye. And so the thought process is the whole world hates Kanye. Kanye went to his kid's soccer game shortly thereafter with his white wife and wore his White Lives Matter shirt. Why wouldn't a guy with a white wife not wear a White Lives Matter shirt? And don't get to me about Armenia. Don't do that. Because y'all been calling Kim and them white up until this point. Don't backpedal now. I would argue, as someone who just watched Kim get booed today in LA while she was in Jerry Jones's box, maybe he's even more inspired to support white lives, seeing as how he's married to him and he's been a part of it. Is it not his right to wear that shirt? Or are you so stuck in your own emotion that you can't put yourself in his position? Do you not think there is a market for people that want to wear White Lives Matter shirts? Imagine if the only place they can get them is from a black man. The same way white people have been selling us our stuff since our existence, and we just keep buying it and pawning it off to Asians or any other group of people that want to profit off of us. So now that we might potentially profit off another group because it potentially offends us, we're going to shut that down. We're going to boycott it. We're going to take money off the out the pocket, food off the table. We ain't going to wear the shirt. And if I see somebody wearing a shirt, what does that mean? Am I going to judge them the same way they would judge me if I was wearing a black hoodie? Does that automatically make that person a racist because they wore that shirt? Or should I at least have a conversation as to why in the world are you wearing the shirt? Could be ignorance. There could be a pride or passion. I grew up in an area where people had Confederate flags all the time. I didn't agree with it, but it was their right to wear it, to fly it. It's their right. That's what the country is founded on. That was my issue with Kareem when he was criticizing Kyrie. Like, this country is built on the freedom of expression. That t-shirt ain't hurting nobody. I know it's a symbol. But the same way we took, and I don't never use this word, but I'm going to use it for the sake of this conversation. I apologize if I offend anybody. But the same way white people use nigger, and now we've changed it to use nigga, which I think is idiotic, personally. We couldn't come up with nothing more creative to call one another than to try to take the poison out of that word, which is how I've heard it explained. If there's no poison in the nigger word, then why do you still get upset when white people call you a nigger? If nigga took the poison out of nigger, why are we still mad at nigger? Because it's dumb. Neither should ever be said, personally. Like, black people, at some point, we got to start looking in the mirror. And I believe that is what Kanye is trying to get us to. You might not like the approach, but I had to self-reflect and figure out why internally did I feel that way when I saw that shirt, because it bothered me. It did. But as I begin to really understand why that was, I realized in the grand scheme of things, with everything going on in the world, where 10 people are murdering every day, a man broke into a daycare and literally sliced up children while they were sleeping, and a White Lives Matter t-shirt is more relevant. Brett Favre is still out here skating around. Breonna Taylor's killers are still out here skating around. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but we're so pissed off about a t-shirt. That's Kanye's point. We are spending so much time, effort, and energy on this t-shirt when the water in Mississippi was undrinkable for extended period of time. It might still be not drinkable. Our attention, we as people got to be better. And I think that's the point Kanye is making. He's doing all this foolery, and a lot of it is foolery, don't get me wrong. But y'all eat it up. Y'all eat it up. So if I'm him, and attention, by all chemical and scientific understandings, it provides dopamine and it provides a release. Even if he wasn't trolling, y'all are still giving him what he wants. So why would you expect him to do anything different when scientifically that's how we were supposed to react? Is if you get attention, you want more of it. Now, do I think that's why he's doing it? No, I think there's a big reason. I think Michael Rappaport got to it at the end of his little bit that he did. I believe the left is terrified that Kanye West wants to run for president. And I think they know in their hearts, they've seen what he can do. Adidas seen it, Nike seen it, Gap seen it, fashion world seen it, music world has seen it. He's capable. I know that seems far-fetched because all you've seen is what you've been shown. But if at the end of the day, he gets a Musk nod, he gets a Trump nod, he gets a Republican nomination, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Candace Owens, I hadn't brought her name up until this point. There are other people that are working and believe. You just don't know it. And y'all watched this happen election before last with somebody y'all didn't think had a chance. And y'all took that person lightly. But Democrats, I don't know if you've looked around. I don't see a polarizing one of y'all yet. I ain't heard y'all talk about a dynamic leader yet. I keep hearing that Joe wants to run again. You put Joe up there, and y'all see how Kanye act. Kanye don't hold information. He told Diddy, don't text me nothing you don't want read publicly. Don't text me nothing in private I can't talk about in public. Could you imagine what that would do to Capitol Hill? What he could potentially release? I'm not talking like military secrets and putting our country in danger. But I know he know that a bunch of them politicians got stocks and companies. He has threatened all of them and their quality of life and way of life. And Stephen A. Smith said it on the Breakfast Club. He didn't know what was going on in that Miami finals, but he knew somebody had sent some women after him. And he said, I know I ain't the best looking and I ain't super ugly, but I don't know about this, the way y'all pressing me. You don't think Kanye hasn't seen people be sent his way? You think it was a coincidence that Tremaine, and I wasn't going to give him a lot of time, who now works for Supreme, or is like the head of Supreme, who got bought by Bernard Arnault, who Kanye has said killed Virgil, who he's at war with? That we're just going to completely ignore that part. You may not got to agree with it, but we're not going to even consider the stuff he's saying. We're not going to consider the people that they're using to speak out against him. The same way when white people do some crazy stuff, they send out a little black person usually on ESPN. Usually it's Tony Dungy, Mike Vick. They always need a black person to ride for a white person. But God forbid, when white people be dead wrong, But God forbid a black person do something. Oh, no. We got to cancel them. No, we're not going to do it. And if he fool around and get Kim on board, who apparently is close to the Clintons, and I know the Clintons will probably never vote for him, but it starts to get a little scary. If he was to clean up his act, I don't think in Kanye's mind he's concerned about getting a black vote, because why should he? We give it to white people all the time, and they don't do nothing for us. And quite frankly, there's been a whole bunch of black people that ain't done Kanye a whole lot of favors and had a whole lot of negative things to say. So it ain't like he owed black people a whole bunch. We've accepted him, but it ain't like we accepted him because he was trash. He was putting out fire. He demanded the respect. He wasn't giving that respect. If you've watched the doc, he had to fight for every ounce of respect he got, because nobody was giving it to him. He was constantly overlooked by black people. He's been taken advantage of by black people. He's been criticized and humiliated by black people. They've done it to me too. So it ain't like he has this undying burden to make your life better. But I think he wants the world to be a better place. And so Michael Rappaport, since you want to call one of our black leaders Dusty, who are you to him? You're a clout chaser. Most of what you are is because of other people. You make jokes about other people. You criticize other people. You're not in the same galaxy as Kanye. But, it's timely for you to pop up, say what you need to say, get your little rile your little group up. But come on, dog. You wasn't mad when the shirt came out? Because that offended a lot of black people. Was he dusty then? Because a lot of your support comes from the black people. And you was real quiet when black people just got offended. But God forbid he say something about Jews. You pop right on up. That's Kanye's point. And the same way a bunch of black people ain't really popped up about the Jew stuff, it's because we're all siloed. And that's the problem. We're all segmented. We all hate each other for real. We're all in a competition. We're all trying to step on one another to get to the next. And that's just wrong. There's too much black wealth in Hollywood and sports and entertainment for the world to look this way. And it ain't all their responsibility, but they're in a position. And they've done a great for themselves. But Diddy and May still shouldn't be beefing over bad contracts and money. Diddy almost up $1 billion. Now, no, you don't just got to give it to him. I got it. But how much money are we really arguing about? We're talking about people's moms. This is 20 years old, and y'all is still going through this. Dame and Hove. Still. Now we got Migos breaking up. We got all the women rappers arguing and fighting and taking profile pics. Like, black people, wake up. I went to the Bible Museum, and they were talking about the Israelites. And the Israelites have found success. And I'm going to close with this. The Israelites have found success, but because of their success, they started fighting. And you know what happened while they were fighting one another? There was a civil war. The Syrians showed up and enslaved them. So now that same person I was fighting, now I'm in chains next to him. We had it. And we gave it away because we was too busy fighting with one another. And now we working to make someone else rich. And black people have been doing it since our inception. It started off forced slavery. But the hold is still strong. Here, how we view ourselves, how we view other people. We respect other people more than we respect ourselves. We change how we talk for other people. We change how we look and dress for other people. I've done it. I might still do it. I think at this point I'm pretty resolute, as y'all can see, in who I am now. But I understand the outrage. I understand the criticism. I get it mentally. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I get it emotionally. But when you really, really think about it, and I don't have it here, but the ratings for that Kanye interview through the roof. One of the biggest shows, I think it was the biggest show Tucker Carlson has ever done. Who tuned in to watch that on Fox News? They watch for a reason. And I guarantee if you watch, your opinion would probably be different. Now, you probably saw a clip and you ain't go watch because it's Tucker and Kanye. And that's the point Kanye's trying to make, because that's how they get you. Now you're ignorant to what exists. You're ignorant to the information. And you know what happens when you're ignorant? You're ill-informed and you make bad decisions. I hope we wake up as a people. I hope we get it together. I believe Kanye is trying to do that. Can't say that his approach is always the best. I do believe they work. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I do not think he's crazy. I don't even think he's necessarily bipolar. I think he thinks a lot. I think he's wild. But somebody mentioned it before. If creative artists of the past had social media today, what would that look like? And one of the things I think about is Vincent van Gogh. Phenomenal guy, right? Huge artist, super popular. He cut his own ear off. We mad at a t-shirt. Creative people have done some crazy stuff. You got to take the good with the bad. Or don't take anything at all. But can we stop just picking up the negative and highlighting it and then putting our headphones on and putting a blindfold over our eyes when the good happens? If you can't be loud for the good, shut up with the bad. You're just perpetuating the narrative that they want. You're a pawn. If you ain't care about nothing else he did, why do you care about this? Why? The prison reform he's done, getting people out of jail he's done, none of that matters. The school he's built didn't matter. The basketball team didn't matter. The rallies he's been a part of don't matter. All the black people he's employed and made rich don't matter. Everything he has done for black people is now being thrown away because of a t-shirt. When the majority of his life is spent around white people. When you're that rich, you spend a lot of time around white people. And if you think he really, really loves white people and white lives matter to that extent that he now hates black people and he just wants to be accepted, have you heard him talk about some white people? Have you? Have you really read and saw the things he said? He told you George Bush didn't like black people 20 years ago. I don't know. I think it's gone on long enough. And I think it's just fake outrage at this point. It's just popular to hate him. But you look like an idiot. Because if you actually sit and think and actually did your own research, you might see that it's a little different than how the Shade Room and, God forbid, TMZ paints the narrative. If your perception of Kanye came from TMZ, man, you are misinformed. Because, boy, they hate him. But I've taken enough of your time. I appreciate y'all. I hope this was entertaining enough for you. I know it wasn't super funny, but I just felt it was a conversation that needed to be had. we are in a critical point as people, Black people. We're going to need people like Kanye West on our side. I've said on here a million times, the only way for Black people to make change in this country was shown to us on January 6th. The history of this country says they are not going to give it. It will have to be taken. And I believe this is his approach at taking it, and I support it and will continue to support it going forward. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week. I love comments. I love feedback. I would love discussion respectfully. But where we're at ain't it. And at some point, you got to try something different. In life, you have the power to choose. Choose wisely. Bet on yourself and see where you end up. Don't be a sheep. Think for yourself.